Here we go. There we are on. Welcome to Substack. Michael, we'll wait a second for some people to log in here. How's your Friday going?
You know, it's going. I had a crazy morning. I'm speaking with a group of guys who actually want to do a documentary on my two books, Disloyal and then Revenge, morph them together and create a docu-series on it, which I think would be kind of interesting. So I had a meeting with them, literally just got off with them. And, I have my own as well on YouTube. I have a channel. So I had all my recordings. I do them in advance for the end of the weekend so that I could actually try to enjoy a Saturday and a Sunday. But
How things going?
Other than that, the phone calls from the press regarding everything that's going on today was nonstop, literally nonstop since about 8 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
They all know I get up at like 4:35 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just the phone calls are just out of control.
Right. You're like me when you give out your cell phone number, and that's always problematic.
Well, don't forget, it's the same cell number for over 25 years. So most if you don't have it, that means that you're not a journalist.
Right. I always for some reason I was good at text over the last few months. I wasn't as good with the DMs that they sneak in, and I see questions that are not relevant anymore that were asked maybe 3-4 weeks ago. So it's it's interesting to see you again on this platform, and we're glad you're on Substack.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. You went into hiding. Of the two of us, by the way, of the two of us, I'm the one that should be in hiding, not you.
Well, that was you were still with him when I had to go and hide. That was in 2017-18. But yes, I think both of us. I'm surprised we're still in the States, but at the same time, I don't think we would leave because of this bozo. But
no.
You're on Substack now, so subscribe to Michael's channel, FYI, and become a paid subscriber if you can. Why did you how did you end up joining Substack? And this is not a pitch for Substack. I'm actually curious about it, just FYI. But why did you join?
It's a very funny story. So I was sitting and speaking with Jim Acosta. And everybody who follows, for example, CNN or Jim Acosta knows that it was a very abrupt leave by him from that station. Now, Jim and I, over the years, we've been on both sides, the battling side and the friendship side. But even when we were battling, we still always remained friends. Well, I wanted just to call him to say hello and to make sure that he was okay, because after 18, 19 years of being at the station, that abrupt sort of leave, I just wanted, as a friend, just to call to see how he's doing. And he said, he's doing okay. Everything's fine. He finds that he joined Substack in order, as Don Lemon did, who was also a friend, they join it in order to be able to continue to express themselves as they did on their television shows. And I said, I've never been on Substack. So he goes, what? You're not on Substack? So I said, no. So he goes, dude, do me a big favor. Check it out. And so I did. And the guys who I'm involved with regarding my Mea Culpa podcast and Political Beatdown podcast, Midas Touch Network, Ben Meiselas, he's been talking about Substack forever. So I went ahead, I tried it out. I got in touch with one of the executives over there. And next thing you know, boom, there I am as of yesterday, first time on, and, already several hundreds of followers, subscribers, and enjoying it. And then they said to me, have you ever heard of a guy named Scott Dworkin? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. They're like, the two of you should sit and talk about politics, about life, about everything, because you're both very similarly situated. But it was
Right.
really initially Jim Acosta, sitting there as an outlet.
Right.
One of the things that I've constantly tried to do from the time while I was away at FCI Otisville and the writing of my #1 New York Times bestseller, Disloyal, I'm trying to help to educate the populace so that they understand more about the man that's sitting in the Oval Office than they know, and certainly provide them with background as to why I, who have, was with him for almost a decade and a half, have an insight which is kind of invaluable.
For sure. And um, my first question I had for you is kind of, it's the most popular question that our readers have had when
How
they
are you able to keep your hair even with all the stress? I don't know.
that
I,
you
I
want.
truly don't know. I can't believe it. And yeah, it is my hair. It's gray now. The last time when you were on my podcast, my hair was black. And I've
Right.
never colored my hair. And as much as my kids were like, you would look like 30 years younger if you did. Nah, I won't do it.
People
Knowing
actually
me, it
say
will come out purple or blue.
my team calls me grandpa sometimes because I act older than I am, and then people will see me and they're like, "How old are you?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I'm in my 40s." So got a little gray on my sideburns. How far, Donald better than most. How far is he willing to take all this? You know what I mean? Like, how far is he willing to push me? He's lazy. Obviously went golfing on Saturday and Sunday last weekend. Um, and how I guess the better question is how far is he willing to let Roosevelt and everybody else take this?
Well, Trump's intention, and it's something I was yelling from the rooftops. I went on every television station, every one except for Fox. And I kept trying to explain to them, when Trump tells you that he intends to do something, he intends to do it. Why the media, why the journalists, why those around him, the pundits, so called, why they were trying to constantly sane wash or whitewash the
Right.
things that he said he's going to do? I kept saying to them, I know the man better than all of you combined. Better than
Right.
all of you combined. When he says he's going to do something, he intends to try to figure out how to do it. And if he can't figure it out, he'll put somebody else to do it and take the credit for it anyway. So when I warned everybody about that 921 page manifesto called Project 2025 and all of the grotesque things that are in there designed within which to destroy our democratic republic, it's exactly what his executive orders are all about. It's all Project 2025 broken down into executive orders. So he intends to do everything.
And he talked about retaliation a lot, and something about that. Pam Bondi obviously is moving forward and investigating the investigators. What are your thoughts on what's happening there? They just got the list of FBI agents at the DOJ. They're not allowed to release them yet. They have a hearing on that later today. But what are your thoughts about investigating the investigators? Over there.
So I watched Pam Bondi talk about it on television, where she explained exactly what they're going to do. They're trying to create Trump into the victim as opposed to being the assailant. And they will do that by attacking the prosecutors in the 4 indicted cases, the 2 by Jack Smith, the 1 by Fani Willis, and then, of course, there's the 2 by New York, one New York Attorney General, Tish James, the other by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. I was a key witness in both of those 2 cases. Now, I'm very mixed in terms of this. My hope is that if Pam Bondi truly is looking to uncover the reality of the weaponization of the Department of Justice, and that's a line that actually if you remember in my book here, how Donald Trump weaponized the United States Department of Justice against his critics, my book Revenge. Yeah, that he did. Now he's claiming that it all started with the Biden administration. That's not true. So my hope is that if they are really going to investigate the prosecutors and look to see where this started, it actually started under Trump's administration with Bill Barr, with the unconstitutional remand of me, making me the first political prisoner ever held by my own country. I'm the first political prisoner because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional rights. Go back. Maybe Trump had nothing to do with that. Maybe it was all Bill Barr trying to impress Trump and show him what he can do. I don't know. But my hope is if she investigates it, put all the documents out for each and every one of us to see, including all the prosecutors in the case that was brought against Trump during the Biden administration. I'm all for it. But what I'll tell you what I'm not for is having Trump or Pam Bondi or any of the other acolytes around him summarize it for us without showing us the information. I want to take a look at the documents myself. Give me what in law we call the documentary evidence so I could see it for myself. Because so far, all that I'm hearing is their opinions on information that they and only they have. For us to be able to buy into this bullshit, what we have to do is we have to see the documents. And by the way, if the Biden administration did do this, if they did falsely prosecute Trump on misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, like what they did with me with Christopher Steele and the Steele dossier, yeah, by all means, they should be held accountable. And I would be all for transforming our broken Department of Justice because I think everybody will unanimously agree our Department of Justice needs a massive, massive overhaul.
Yeah, I remember when this is one of the different ways that we've met over the years, but I wasn't very pleased. People weren't asking the right questions, and I think I tweeted out something like, "Cut the shit, Michael. Have you ever been to Prague?" And you responded, "No," and that made international news
You
everywhere.
remember that?
Yeah, because I was looking into the steel because I'm like, okay, there's facts. These people exist. They're saying it's all bogus, but some of these things are true. Some of these people are in these places. Like, were you actually there? Because people were going back and forth about the Prague stuff.
I
Prague
was
stuff.
in Los Angeles.
Right,
I was with my son,
right,
and
and that's proven to
he
be
was
true. By
going
the
for.
way, it's not just him saying this right now. This is fact checked. By
I
the way,
was, of course, yeah, and this is the craziest. I went with my son to USC, where he was trying out as a lefty pitcher.
right,
My son is a phenomenal baseball player. He was scouted by the Yankees, the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Chicago White Sox. He had a tryout with the Chicago White Sox when he was 16 years old. So we went to USC for a tryout. And they were like, well, maybe we got the day wrong. Where were you the day after? I was on TMZ with Harvey Levin. I went to check out the new studio, and the FBI went and they spoke to the USC coaches. They spoke to Harvey Levin, and there I was. There I was. I've never been to Prague. I've never been to the Czech Republic. And
right,
I gave my passport. I gave my passport to Daily Beast, who photographed everything except for the front page with all the info.
right.
I've never been there. And then I had somebody by the name of Louise Mensch, who's a maniac, a right wing maniac, who turned around and said, well, as a Jew, he must have an Israeli passport. So maybe he traveled on another passport. And I said, I have one. The State Department knows this. I have one and only one passport. It's an American passport. In fact, despite the fact her comment is not just it's not just repulsive and anti-Semitic, right? It's also inaccurate. I've actually never been to Israel.
Hmm.
I plan
Yeah.
on going, but I've never been there.
Yeah, I have a Jewish last name and grew up Catholic in a very weird Irish, Polish mixed family, and so everybody, kind of it splits the difference, but you learn a lot with that diversity. We have some people who ask some questions. I know you'll have input on this. One of my favorite questions that I get, I'm happy to answer, is why haven't y'all left the country? Are you afraid of Trump or the Proud Boys coming after you? I've had to, and I know Michael has too. I've had to, at different points when I was investigating Putin and Trump, go into hiding, and Michael's had to do it before. It's not about being afraid of them or whatnot. It's their threats kind of fuel my fire, and you have to just protect yourself as part of this job. Like that's just what you have to do. You have to have kind of a barrier up and levels. Michael and I talked about how we don't just give our cell phone number out to people. People don't really know where we live. There's a lot of things that we're cautious about. So it's less about whether or not worried about they're coming after you. No, it's not. I'm not investigating business ties to, somebody in charge and also another, like two dictators at once in the same level anymore. There's a lot of people here. When I was doing that, I was the only one doing it. There was like Malcolm Nance and Joy Reid when I was on MSNBC. Like that was it. It was like those core people, and then we had people like Jennifer Rubin on, like, this actually is truthful and makes sense, and then Donald started talking about collusion instead of his business ties, and it went from there. But yeah, what are you afraid of, these Trump people, coming after you? I mean, you're one of the loudest voices in the country against him.
No,
So,
no.
yeah,
I refuse. Listen, I've been to hell. I already know what hell, not once but twice.
right,
So I'm fine. You're gonna really, they'll put themselves into a very precarious situation by coming after me at this point in time, because of my public persona. Those people, there are many people that Trump has real animus towards, right? I'm certain I'm on that list. I know for a fact that I am. I'm just not at the top.
right,
So, I'm willing to continue. And by the way, if Trump does something which benefits Americans, all Americans, I'm going to be the first one to turn around and say, you know what? Yeah, I agree that our immigration policy sucks. And it's been busted up and beaten up for many, many years. 50 years. I've found that our immigration policy needs a complete overhaul. I just don't believe in internment camps. As the son of a Holocaust survivor, my dad was born in Poland, in a place called Bochnia, which is right outside of Krakow. Lived his life in an internment camp from 7 to the age of 11. I don't believe in internment camps. And as a parent, I also don't believe in separating a parent from child. I believe that we should have borders, and people coming into our country should be known by our INS. But I don't believe in, as Trump said, well, can't we just shoot him in the legs? No, no, I don't ascribe to that. So if they can come up with a policy, I'll be the first one to come on a show and say, you know what? Forget about all the other things that are going on right now. I just want to talk about this one policy that I think benefits all Americans. But isn't that what we all want? Right? We want our leaders to work for us, not if you're Republican only for Republicans, not if you're Democrat only for Democrats. We want our politicians to work for all America and make America, just loving and compassionate.
yeah, and it's interesting. We had said, just in regards to media, especially corporate media, when I first reported on this child separation policy, I think Jacob Soboroff was also doing it. But we had pointed it out, and the White House's response at that time, back in 2017 or so, we had some basic torture. I mean, it was their response was they're in the same complex, so that's fact check. That's not true. So they do things like that. lies to muddy the waters. When I reported that the first American had died of COVID, it wasn't that it happened in America because the cruise ship was in international waters, and they're like, nobody's died in America of COVID. Like, these are the kind of games that I see them playing. Of the Panama Canal is going to be free for the United States, and that's just complete lie. And State Department keeps up the lies. Like, do you think that the
There's such
line is going to get?
misconception and there's so much false information. Can we break down for those that are with us today just the Panama Canal issue?
Sure.
Because it's the smallest of them all, but it's one that's easily broken down. First and foremost, Trump, during his entire campaign, he's supposed to be the president that ends all wars, right? 24 hours, in 24 hours, I can have the entire Russia Ukraine war ended, right? And no, we're now 3 weeks in. It's not ending. Israel, Hamas, and so on. That's a whole nother issue right now. But he's fight. He wants to take Greenland, Canada. He wants to take Mexico, the Panama Canal, and now Gaza. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a non-war type. It almost sounds like a hawk, right? But just breaking down the Panama Canal. If you listen to what Trump is telling you, that China's running it, we're a bunch of idiots, that Jimmy Carter gave away the Panama Canal, which belonged to us, we spent all the money, we had Americans that were building it die, much of that is not accurate. What people have to understand is that in 1903, the United States was involved in a treaty. It's like the Way something another treaty. It's got 3 names to it. What that treaty did is it gave the United States a 100-year land lease on that canal area. The United States built it and then they operated it up until the Jimmy Carter administration, when the 100-year or the time period expired in the land lease, which gave Panama the ability to take it back. But the United States does have preferential usage of the Panama Canal, especially for our Navy. So when you turn around and you say that we gave it back to them, it was part of a land lease. I mean, that's how the treaty was written. Now, you may not like the treaty 100 years later, but the deal was the deal going back into the early 1900s. And just because, hindsight being 2020, it's like a football player, right? Being a Tuesday quarterback for a Monday night football game. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have done a handoff there because that, of course, resulted in a fumble. Nah, I would have thrown it the long one to so and so who was alone in the end zone. Oh, that's great. Hindsight being 2020. Well, in the 1900s, 1903, when they made the treaty, that was the deal. So the whole thing is just a big bunch of bullshit.
Right. Is the one of the best questions that I've been dying to ask you this. People will say, and I've learned from you and others who have spoken with, who have worked with him before, and also in the administration, testified in front of January 6th, all sorts of people who have been close to him over the years. And I don't think they can give me the right answer on this. Is Trump a puppet of Elon Musk? Is he a puppet of Project 2025? Who's in control here?
Nope, he's not a puppet of Putin. He's not a puppet of Maduro. He's not a puppet of Elon Musk, nor is he a puppet of anybody. In fact, people don't give him enough credit for being as devious and slick as he actually is. To the contrary, I would say Elon Musk is a puppet of Donald Trump. Trump used him for $260 million raised by him, given by him during the campaign. He needed that money, all right, for the campaign and from others as well. He now has Elon Musk basically doing a lot of dirty work that was created for him in Project 2025. And when it fails, and it will fail, and when it fails, it will fail frickin' miserably. What can Donald do? It wasn't me. Elon went rogue, right? So he can always separate himself out from the negative result. If by coincidence it ushers in a positive result, Trump will take the credit. He'll always take the credit, but he will never take the liability. Elon Musk is right now in a very, very dangerous territory because Trump will not back him when things go bad. And everybody says, yeah, but Elon Musk, he's the richest guy in the world, that he could fight his way out of anything. It's not true. It's not true. As rich as you are, you're never richer and you're never more powerful than the US government. You know, people turn around and they say, and it's not obviously the United States, and it doesn't have the Constitution the way that we have it here in America. But look at like what happened with Mohammed bin Salman when he became the crown prince. The first thing he did is he started charging all of his relatives with fraud against the country. Now, I'll waive those fraud charges if you give me a percentage of your net worth, right? And right after he did that, brought them, remember, to the Ritz-Carlton, put them on the floor, hung a few of them by their neck until they signed over billions of dollars to him. And right after that they did this, what did MBS go out and do? He bought a house right near the Louvre in France, most expensive house ever sold, $500 million. He bought a $500 million yacht, and he bought art for another $500 million. $1.5 billion spent in one afternoon. All right, that's gangster. Trump is doing the same thing. You know, people don't realize. You know how much money Trump has made since becoming president-elect? And this is only how much we know.
It's billions, right?
Almost $6 billion.
Yeah.
All right, since becoming president-elect. Elon Musk, about $300 billion. So if you had that kind of money, or not, would you not invest $260 million to make 250, 300 billion? And I think every one of us would say, yeah, I would. They're acting like gangsters.
How do you think it all ends for him?
I think it ends badly for Elon because there can only be one alpha male.
Right.
And every time that you hear the press turning around and talking about, Elon as a shadow president, Trump and Elon, all of a sudden it's like, what the hell? Nobody voted for Elon Musk. I mean, many people didn't vote for Donald either, right? Or Shady Vance. But, at the end of the day, nobody voted for Elon to be a shadow government. And in fact, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, wasn't even supposed to be a department. It was supposed to be a program, a secondary advisory program. Not anymore. And when you have kids who are 19 and 22 as part of this so far 8 or 9 person team, you know how dangerous you're talking? To have people who have no knowledge about government, about anything, and you're in charge of and have access to all of our data, all of our banking information, all of our social security numbers, all of our tax returns. I don't know. When this thing goes bad, it's going to go real bad. My hope is that it doesn't go so bad as to hurt America. And that's why we have to fight. And when I say fight, I'm talking about we must be vigilant. Scott, there is no room right now for passiveness. We have to fight. And when I say fight, I'm talking about at the ballot box. There are special elections going on right now because Trump poached a bunch of individuals from the House and the Senate. So there are special elections. If we take all the special elections, the House flips because it's such a small margin. And come 2026, that's the real power that we all have. And I yell this every single time. Our power is our power to vote. And if we can vote the House and the Senate back to Democratic, Trump and all of these executive orders, become like lame ducks.
Yeah.
So stay vigilant, stay active, stay informed, stay attached to communities like Scott, like my new Substack, right? Like my YouTube channel. Stay involved, stay informed, and stay committed so that when the time comes, if hypothetically we need to do something tomorrow, what better way? You're not going to get it from mainstream media anymore. You're not going to get it from cable news media anymore. They are so afraid. Trump just filed a $10 billion lawsuit against CBS, completely reckless lawsuit. He filed an action against ABC. He won. He's getting money from Zuckerberg. He's getting money from, well, talk about being a gangster. This type of a platform, this is where we're going to need the volume of people to be able to come together in short form. That's why I say stay committed, stay informed, stay active.
Thank you, Michael, for joining me today. And don't forget to subscribe to Michael's podcast. If you missed a tail end of if you're just catching it now, there will be the recording of this in a post later today. And then, so again, subscribe to Michael's podcast. We'll be talking again many times, I assume, on Substack and also on his podcast. So, Michael, thanks for joining
What
me
do we have? We
today.
have about 1,800 people sitting here with you.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know Substack from a hole in the wall yet. I'm trying to learn it. Is that a good number? I mean, we should have hundreds of thousands of people joining us, because when we need to get out there and march and we need to get to the ballot box, we don't 17, 1,800, 2,000 people, that's good numbers. It's good numbers, but we need many more zeros behind it to make the difference. So maybe the next time that we're on together, Scott, we'll have 1 million people.
Hey, it sounds good to me.
There you go, brother.
I appreciate you. Thanks for all you do,
Thanks.
and I'll talk to you soon.
Always.